as shockingly as this may sound, is that the number one fear, or number two, don't quote me on this, but along with death, one of the biggest fears in the public eye or public population, there we go, is of public speaking. People are afraid of that. People fear that as much as death. And I'd probably say that it's not, you know, here, look, the idea of death, it's permanent, you know, it's over. But a speech, like really this temporary thing, it's not permanent. The speech isn't gonna last forever. Whether you screw up miserably, or it can even be the greatest talk you've ever given. But that is only temporary, like I said. It's not a forever thing. So why would you fear it as much as death? And in and of itself, that brings the idea of fearing death. Why would you fear that? I forget who it was exactly, but they were explaining, oh, Arcangel, the reggaeton singer, he was talking about that in an interview with Nicky Jam, and he says that why should he fear death if he knows it's coming? You know, it'd be nonsense. Why would you fear something that you're already expecting, that you know without a doubt is going to happen to you, that you have seemingly no control over, besides extending your life? You know, that's good and that's all through health and stuff, but why should you be afraid of that? And just like with that talk that you have to give that might give you anxiety, or that test that's coming up, you know it's coming up regardless of whether you like it or not. That date is coming. So why would you add unnecessary BS of being scared? You should focus that energy, instead of having that fear and worry and sweat and not being able to sleep. Why would you devote that into wasted time, you know, simply when you could be using that time towards more, how do you say, productive methods? You could be using that to prepare for your talk, take some notes, study, prepare for your test. Why would you just waste that freaking out, venting to others like, oh my God, this test is coming, I can't feel it, this is the biggest thing I've ever done, this means the world to me? But why would you fear it? Don't fear it. And one thing that I learned from Mr. Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt, is that or FDR, I'm not sure which president was this, but it's very true. The only thing you should fear is fear itself. Don't be afraid of anything, because ultimately what you'll come to realize is that every situation you encounter, every pain, whether it be mental or physical, is temporary. It might feel like everything. It might feel like the worst thing in the world, and it'll cause you fear. But what comes, here, let's see. See, if I had fear, I probably wouldn't be able to cross that street. I would be like, oh my God, what do I do? When do I cross it? And let's see. All right, so, yeah, why would you be afraid of anything, afraid of rejection? A made-up construct in our mind. Ask yourself this: does that rejection, does that heartbreak, does that ultimately have any effect on you besides the one you put on yourself? That feeling? Because that's all it is, it's a feeling. You could decide, oh, and one thing here, say you get that rejection, right? What you should do is you reject the rejection. You move on from it. Because if you accept it, which you could, and that's not to say that you should neglect when you're doing something wrong and learn from it, but the concept is that you don't let it, you know, hurt you, harm you, scar you. Because what happens if you're I hate to use this example, but if you're that guy running around talking to every girl in the bar or the club and one girl rejects you, why? It's not going to be good if you let that one rejection get to your mind and make you feel so down about yourself. So with that, you got to reject the rejection. You don't let it affect you. You go about your daily business. So let's see. Definitely in a nicer part. Let's see. So we'll talk about this. So as I was running and trying to cross the street, we had someone arguably crazily try to cut in front of us and get to where they're going in the car. But here, look. See that thing? I instinctively wanted to get mad and get angry at that person and tell them obscene things that you probably wouldn't want to hear out here. But why would I do that? Why would I let a decision, a simple mental construct of I tried to cross the street, he didn't let me, he almost killed me, therefore I'm mad? No, you don't need that therefore I'm mad. Although you have that situation that presents itself, you can change what comes after that therefore. So you have, I tried to cross the street, he didn't let me, therefore I learned from this. I understand that there's crazy people out there that might not know what they're doing, or I in fact may be the crazy one that's trying to cross the street, you know, out of nowhere and putting myself in harm's way for pretty much no reason. But that idea in itself is the important thing. It's not the outcomes themselves, but your reactions to them. Your decisions that you make within yourself as to how to react to them, which is more important than the outcomes themselves, because they're going to be different. Some are going to be good, some are going to be favorable, which you probably won't be able to complain about that. But unfortunately, there's going to be some not as good outcomes, some sad outcomes. And they're going to happen whether you like them or not. And the only way you can prepare for them is to understand how to react to them. But we had an itch on our leg that we were trying to stretch. But let's see. So from that, the choice is yours. Say you get a good grade on that test, and you could even use good outcomes and have arguably bad reactions to them. You can get a good grade on that test, but that good grade sometimes doesn't mean that you should chill out and give up on that class because you, in a sense, have it made. Like you've already done your work. Sometimes you gotta look at what happened, even if it's good, and look at it as if you almost failed in a sense. Like you can do amazing, you can get 100 on that test, but in your mind, you're like, I did okay, that was good, like, but it wasn't enough. You see, here's one example from Kobe, right? The great Kobe Bryant, or LeBron. I've also recalled said something like this, or to this effect, where he was in the NBA Finals, and it was like game 2 or game 3, and his team was up, and he had an amazing night. Dropped 50 points, triple-double, the whole 9 yards. And he shows up to that interview not with a smile on his face, which is what people would expect, because he had a great game in, you know, the spotlights of the finals and everything. He showed up. People might think he did his part, but when they asked him, how does it feel? In short, what he says is that the job is not finished. Even if you do amazing and perform your heart out and have a great night, oftentimes you have to realize that you can't stop there. You got to keep going, because there's the idea of battles and the war. That game, all the 7 games in the finals, they're a battle. Although they may be they're extremely important to win, right? You need to win a certain number of them to win the war, which in case the war is the NBA championship. Why would you stop when you just won a battle? A small little victory, although it may not be considered little in the scope of how monumental that event is, but you have to realize that you got to keep going. Let's bring this example to running, right? Let's say I'm running a marathon and I run the fastest mile I've ever run in my entire life. It would kind of be foolish to stop and take it easy from there and be like, oh, I'm done. I've done my work for the day. But guess what? The race is still going. The war isn't over. That 1 mile was just one battle out of 26.2 of them. So it would be quite foolish if I stopped and I had to keep going. So in life, when you get a promotion and a raise, which is I'm sure you'll achieve, you know, watching this, being on your purpose, working towards wherever you got to work towards, and staying on that path, right?